Based on audience scores, critical reviews, and me, Season 3 of The Bear is a good show that went bad. But what's interesting is that it went bad without falling into the trap that most shows do. This trap can be described as the Office Season 8 problem. When Steve Carell left The Office during its 7th season, its writers had two good options on how to proceed. The first was to end the show.
No, God!
Or they could continue, understanding that since no one can possibly replace Michael Scott, the show needed to pivot into a new direction. They chose option 3, which was to desperately cling to their old formula by contorting their characters to fill a Michael Scott-shaped hole. This wasn't the problem with The Bear. If it had been, Season 3 would have felt familiar but empty. There would have been the same old, fast-paced, anxiety-producing stakes, but they would have felt contrived. We would have seen The Bear's patented moments of surprisingly heartwarming character progression, but they would have felt predictable and saccharine. None of that happened. Instead of running its playbook into the ground, Season 3 of The Bear simply abandoned its playbook. To the point that the show inverted its own mission statement. And for other shows, you sometimes have to dig through writer interviews or critical analyses to understand its core theme. But with The Bear, you don't need to read between any lines. You just need to read. Until Season 3, this refrain that every second counts permeated every level of The Bear. Within the show, it's a constant reminder to the characters. Outside the show, its creator refers to it as one of The Bear's key themes. And from an audience's perspective, each episode, each season has felt designed to leave no literal or metaphorical meat on the bone. And then Season 3, Episode 1 happened. There was a moment when it dawned on me that I'd be watching nothing but montages for the next 30 minutes, and it was both boring and terrifying. But instead of criticizing what doesn't happen, let's look at the 3 big things that actually occur in Season 3 of The Bear. Great, doesn't really change much, but we've been waiting for that to happen. Okay, plotline's a little light, but maybe it's interesting. What does the review say? Interesting. She decides to... A to be continued card, by definition, means that a show's writers have failed to create a satisfying season of television that can stand on its own merit. Look no further than the show's own episode descriptions to reinforce the point that, at most, plot development only threatens to occur in Season 3. Entries like, Carmi thinks about apologizing. Instead of ensuring that every second counts, 2 of the show's 3 biggest plot lines went unresolved. But this inversion of The Bear's mission statement doesn't just affect the big stuff. Small stylistic devices from earlier seasons, like quickly conveying a character's memory over a few seconds, is stretched into minutes and entire episodes. Footage repeats so often that new episodes can feel like reruns. Where FAQ used to be an emotional ballast that brought quick punches of disarming humor to stressful situations,
is Claire my girlfriend?
I think so.
He is now Daffy Duck stupid. Instead of investing the show's precious seconds into its most compelling relationships, the primary relationship in Season 3 seems to be between Fack and other Fack, aka
Tweedledum and even Tweedledum,
running repetitive bits that stretch up to half an episode's runtime. In Season 3 of The Bear, not only does every second not count, it turns out that 10 entire episodes, 1 full season of television, doesn't really count. But again, that's not interesting. What's interesting is how it demonstrates that not all TV failures are equal. There's something particularly devastating about seeing a show like The Office that you used to love for its innovation stagnate into a hollow formula. And as many gripes as I have with The Bear, it never did that. Its missteps were the result of too much change instead of too much stagnation, even though one of its changes was stagnation. But between the options of a good show going bad because it played it safe or because it experimented too much, I'll always choose the experiment. In other words,
If this is to be our end,
No, not. Neil, Ted, Neil, Ted. Yeah, well,
then I would have them make such an end
why? Yeah. No. Well, Ted, me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no.
as to be worthy of remembrance.
Haunting.
And in case it was unclear, I used to love the bear. Here are 2 more videos where I tried to make every second count.